Good evening. My name is Joette Calabrese. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a homeopath educator. Love teaching homeopathy, love using homeopathy, love depending on homeopathy. And I'm here to teach you tonight. I am your teacher, at least for tonight, which is really my privilege. For those who do know me, welcome, my friends. It's great to see you all. I love to see all my mighties. I love to see all the folks on Facebook Live. And so tonight, we're going to talk about, warty warty. This is your match. It's a fun remedy. Harry guessed it. Those of you who know anything about homeopathy guessed it. Not only is this medicine specific for warts, and I don't care whether they're planters or on the knees or the hands or the nose, this is a good remedy. It's not the first medicine we think of. It's actually my second or third choice, but it's still a great medicine for warts. But it's also good for before and after the you know what. So I want to invite those of you who are my mighties to stay on after the half hour, after 8:30 Eastern time, and stay on, and I'll answer some more questions, and I'll give you my thoughts that are formulating, because as we're getting through this period in history, it's becoming, at first it was very confusing. What is the medicine? What is not the medicine? What is it that's being required? What actually is it? Because how do we know what to do if we don't know what it is? And then we had not seen symptoms quite yet, the typical symptoms. So I want to discuss that in fuller measure. But first, we're going to talk about one of the more important medicines that is used for, in general, this kind of a condition, whether we're talking about warts on the skin or before and after. Okay, I'm not going any further than that. You all know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about warts on the skin. So this medicine is, we're going through my materia medica, is called Thuja. The J is silent. It's spelled Thuja. Some people pronounce it Thuja, but I've always pronounced it with a silent J. Thuja occidentalis, OCCIDENTALIS, Thuja or Thuja occidentalis, better known as just plain Thuja. And we're going through my materia medica for those of you who are interested in following. And if you don't have this one, then use another materia medica. It will probably be more in depth. My materia medica is really intended as kind of a desktop guide, just to give a basic idea of these medicines. And you can get it from by contacting my office and purchasing it that way, should you be interested. But if you're not, no problem. So Thuja occidentalis is arborvitae. Arborvitae. It's super common. Look it up. Look at what it looks like. It's got the flat fronds. I would call them fronds. I don't think I'd call them leaves. And they are, it's forever green. I had some planted in front of my house because most houses in especially established neighborhoods often planted arborvitaes, which is not uncommon, because they cause a very thick hedge. They grow into trees. They start out as bushes. People often like to keep them as bushes, but I had one actually in my house that was so big it well towered over my home. You can make this medicine, by the way. You can actually get the fronds and mash them up, macerate them in a food processor or something like that, and then add stuff a good sized ball canning jar with them, stuffed to the brim, and then fill it up with vodka or grain alcohol like Devil's Spring, Everclear. Those are grain alcohols, or high potency vodka. And then once you fill it up to the top with just that alcohol, put the cap on it, wait a little while, kind of shake it up so it kind of infuses it somewhat. Then take the cap off, and you'll note that it will go down a little bit, and fill it all the way up to the cap again. Then you cap it again, put it in a cool place without the sun touching it. It's always better if you put it in a ball canning jar that you use an amber one or a dark blue one, because we don't want light getting in there. And so in the first 2 weeks, that's a fortnight, such a cool word, a fortnight, you every day you turn it a bit so that it just kind of infuses it. You're moving it, changing the action of it a little bit, keeping it back in that cabinet or the pantry, and not allowing light to get at it. So after 2 weeks, you can decant it. And now you've got Thuja occidentalis in mother tincture form, which, by the way, can be used directly on the warts. Yes, put a couple drops on the warts. So we decant it, put it in, maybe in smaller amber bottles with a little pipette that you can draw up a few drops and put it directly on the warts. And many people have reported that this works through not just, not recently. This has been used for decades, centuries. Now, if we want to use it homeopathically, now we dilute it. Now, you can actually do this yourself. And I want you to know how to do this. You should understand how to make a homeopathic medicine. I'm not going to go through this tonight. We will do this when we finish working on the materia medica. We're already in the teas. We don't have that much further to go. And then I will teach you how to make a homeopathic medicine, because we don't know what's ahead of us, do we? We just don't know. You might need to know how to make homeopathic medicines on your own. So when we dilute it, of course, 30 times to the 100th power, that would be 30 C. It's going to be diluted and succussed between each dilution process, or 200 C, that's 200 times to the 100th power, with succussion between each dilution process, between each stage, and you will have a medicine of great measure. This is one of our most important medicines in the materia medica, not just for warts. But think about this for a second. Warts are a kind of virus. And this medicine, I had not actually thought about it in this fashion until I worked with the Banerjees. And there, Prateep said to me, it's for nearly all viruses. So especially chronic viruses, but also viruses in general. Now, it doesn't mean that we need to know that this is a virus and that's a bacterial infection. But virus infections can be long-lasting, chronic. Epstein-Barr virus, for example, cytomegalovirus. I'm not going to go through them all. It's not the only medicine we use, but we always think, when you're thinking of a virus, do indeed think of Thuja occidentalis. It is I'm going to read from it, from my materia medica. It's what we call a polycrest. And a polycrest means that it's a medicine that has many abilities. Now, many of our medicines have many abilities, but polycrest goes into a slightly different category in that it's a medicine that has been known to be used on a regular basis, more commonly for many common ails. Natrum muriaticum is also a polycrest. Sulfur is a polycrest. And Harry asked if I had a list of the polycrests, and I haven't on my website. I've never done that. And that's something else that we can talk about at some time too. But this is a polycrest, and that is, it has many uses. So it's elevated to a higher status in our materia medica. I'm reading from my materia medica here. Thuja is best known as the wart remedy. It's indicated for soft warts that may be painful, bleed, or emit a fetid fluid with a sweetish odor. Now, if there is none of that there, it doesn't mean that we don't use it. It is still considered. Consider Thuja for warts and other more sobering illnesses that appear after this. A brilliant 19th century medical doctor in London, Dr. Compton Burnett. Now, for those of you who are serious students, I urge you to buy Dr. Burnett's books. Dr. Compton Burnett. He did an enormous amount of research, and I mean research, on the use of this medicine. And he coined his term. He coined a term that we don't hear in conventional medicine, but and his work was done around I think about the turn of the last century. He coined the term vaccinosis as a disease directly caused by, as you can imagine, if we know that a person was directly affected by such a procedure. We often open the case with this medicine, is his contention. Now, when I bought Dr. Burnett's books, I bought them all individually. It's the only way that I knew was available. And that was back, I don't know, in the 80s or something. So we had lots of different books, and many of them were small, almost like pamphlets, because he would do a study and then it included comprised a pamphlet, and then another study and on another condition, especially related to this problem, as well as this problem, as well as using Thuya in general. And so he was the one who really spearheaded the work with this medicine. Now you can buy Dr. Compton Burnett's book all in one book, where it's a whole compilation of all of them. So I have all these little pamphlets, and I could have just bought a whole book if I'd waited a little bit longer, but I didn't want to wait, and I wouldn't blame anyone to not wait, because you get what you can. Particularly back then, I always get a kick out of this when I think about it, that folks are always saying, well, can you give us the download of this or the download of that? And I certainly understand that people want to learn very quickly, but it cracks me up. I just have to share this with you, that when I was studying homeopathy, we were lucky to find any books at all. The National Center for Homeopathy was in existence, but it was, there it was in the background. It wasn't as big as we wanted it to be, of course. We started our little study groups. We were limping along, and any book we could get our hands on was game for us. And I used to study under Dr. Ramakrishnan. I used to go to Toronto and New York. I studied under him for about 5 years, or a group of us who all got together. It was kind of a post-grad class. And I missed a couple of his lectures, but he had them on tape. Now, I'm really dating it, right? I'm talking about in the 80s when we had tapes. And when Dr. Ramakrishnan would speak, he had a heavy Indian accent, and there were no microphones like this. Instead, it was a microphone that sounded like it was clear across the room. There were lots of people in the class. Their sounds and coughing and whispering and the moving of chairs were all recorded. And he would discuss in Materia Medica. And I remember that there was a remedy that he that he mentioned, and I couldn't understand what he was talking about. I just had no idea. And I would rewind it and rewind it and try to listen to it again and listen to it again. And I kept over and over and over again until finally I realized what he was saying was Sekeli core. And in the book, I'd never heard anyone pronounce the word, because I was studying often. We were often studying on our own. And it looked like Secal, Secale. And some people do pronounce it Secal core. So, but he was pronouncing it Sekeli core. And he said it very quickly, Sekeli core, and with his Indian accent. And I will never forget that lecture, because once I learned that medicine that he was talking about, Sekeli core, had to do with bleeding, and that I had to work so hard to listen to it, back around again, and play it forward and backward and forward and backward. I learned that medicine inside and out. So it's kind of fun to think about how things that used to be, how difficult it was to get books, how difficult it was to find courses. You had to travel, etc. So let me also say, I'm going to continue reading in my Materia Medica. While its most popular use is to remove warts, in my experience, it's not the first remedy, as I said, I choose. Instead, it's usually my second line of defense. And it's, however, a medicine so strongly to consider when a person has many nevi, beauty marks, moles. Sometimes the person who needs this homeopathic has skin that is very sensitive to touch. There may be violent itching all over the body. Eruptions may itch and burn greatly, and scratching makes them worse. So the Thuya person who needs this is generally better with wrapping up and warmth, and worse from cold and dampness. Now, these are conditions that I don't really pay that much attention to unless we really have to fine tune it. I like to use Thuya as a medicine of measure for using pretty much a protocol. So when we use Thuya for warts, we often use it in a 6C, sometimes 6X, 30. C, sometimes 30x, depending on where you live and what's available to you. And then it's used twice daily. That's the way that I've often used it. There are, as I said, there are other medicines that are that are my first choice before Thuya for warts. But I know why you're all here tonight. I know what you want to learn. You want to learn how to use this before and after. So I'm going to tell you one of the ways is using Thuya the day before and the day of and the day after. And then it's Thuya. Usually use it in a 1M. And I'm going to leave it at that because there are other aspects of this that I want to cover at a later date. But this is with the assumption that something could come of this. And so why not use a homeopathic medicine prophylactically? Now, I'm also going to warn you that if you use a homeopathic medicine prophylactically and you use it too frequently, such as, let's say, every day for a week, and then the day of, and then another 5 weeks every day, or maybe I should make it so extreme. Maybe I should make it every day for a week leading up to, then using it, and then maybe several days after, you could end up proving the medicine. And that's not so bad. Listen, everyone worries about provings. I don't worry about provings. Provings are a way to learn about the medicine. That's how Hahnemann did it. That's how the greats have done it. That's how we've learned how these medicines act, is by actually using them to the point where they cause the condition that they're intended to resolve. And I've actually seen that somebody doesn't have warts, or they used to have warts many years ago, and they use Thuya for another condition, maybe, a virus or something. And lo and behold, the warts come back, or the warts that were dormant become more active again. As far as I'm concerned, no problem. We just stop using the medicine. Sometimes we have to abort. Sometimes we have to use camphor. I've talked about that on my blog. Sometimes we use essential oil of mint, a good amount of it, and then it stops the action. Or even better yet, to be honest, the correction for the wrong medicine is the right medicine. So remember that. Sometimes just choosing the right medicine after the wrong one was administered will make all the difference in the world. All righty. I want to see my friends here, and let's see if I can get myself back in the saddle here. Okay, here we go. So let's see what we've got here with some questions that we have. Yes, 1M of Thuya once per day for the day before, the day of, and perhaps the day after. Look, I don't have a lot of experience with this issue. I have some, and I'm in touch with many other homeopaths who have some. Some have more experience than others. I was actually asked to be a part of a study to submit my cases, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel comfortable doing so because I just didn't have enough experience in this particular issue. So let me just see some of these questions. Oh, yes, thank you very much. Thuya is incredible for the prostate. It's for men who have frequent urination. It's also very useful for women who have very frequent urination. We can use it in a 30, we can use it in a 200, we can use it in a 1M. So Carrie says Thuya 30 and Sabal Seriolata 6C for 2 weeks so far is not acting on enlarged prostate and inability to urinate. What else should I consider? Consider staying with your remedies for longer than 2 weeks. 2 weeks is not enough time. You need to know that you stay with these medicines unless they're causing some kind of disruption for 2 months, 6 weeks. You got to give the body a chance, okay? Have you tried Thuya? Okay, let's see. Previously recommended Thuya 30 along with other remedies 7 days before, day of, and 7 days after for it. Sounds like you may have more info. I do have a little more info, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have the whole picture. I will do what I can, but I don't have the whole picture. Okay. What about using eupatorium every day? Well, eupatorium, yeah, it's not for what we're talking about though. Eupatorium is for actually the actual condition. Okay, we're one step beyond that. So I hope you know what I'm talking about. This is truly the only medicine that has caused that with only one dose. I'm not sure I know what Karen is saying. My daughter's best friend had a giant wart that doctors could not get rid of. I gave her Thuya and the wart and it left forever. Yeah, it often does leave forever. Yeah, that's the beauty of this. It actually does often leave forever. How do we know if we are directly caused, if something's directly caused by you know what? Most of us have had those throughout our lives. Then that's not the way. We don't theorize. We know wellness, treatment, illness. If it is caused by a specific treatment, whether it's an antibiotic treatment or it's an injection or it's surgical treatment, you will know that this was not there until that was administered. That's how you know. We do not go back and look at, gee, I wonder if that could have been caused by that when I was a child. Okay. All righty. Love Burnett's little books. Best of Burnett. Yes, Donna, Best of Burnett. There we go. Let's see if we have any others. All right. I think people are helping each other on their screens. How to refresh. Okay. All righty. Watching on Facebook, but hope to get it here for the after talk. Yes, stay here for the after talk. And I will be answering some questions. All right. Now let's see what we've got here on Facebook. Do you find that through your mother tincture externally is sometimes needed in addition to impotency? I have done that a few times. I don't know that I found that it has acted, however, to be honest, any differently. Can it be used for seborrhea keratosis? No. I mean, I'm not saying no. That's not, but what we're talking about is specifically warts, especially coming from a virus. Seborrhea keratosis, I don't believe is virus oriented, and I'm not going to tell you it will not. I should not have answered it quite that way. What I'm going to tell you is that that's not my first choice. Let's put it that way. I've had improvement detoxing after old you know what's with Nux vomica. Yes, thank you, Alice. Yes, that can be, yes. You bet. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's simple. Don't believe everything you see on TV. Clicked on that, folks. Very interesting. Thank you for putting that up, Natalie. Christy says, if the parent knows there was a correlation of disease and condition with a childhood, you know what, but that was 5 years ago, would you still consider Thuya Post? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. It's not the only one I would use. I would use the medicines that are needed for that specific condition, as well as Thuya. Yes, I would use both. Disease condition is still a problem 5 years later. Yes, absolutely, Christy. You've got it. I would definitely do that. Yes. All right. Let's just see if we've got any more good questions on Facebook. Let me just extend this. I think I have to. Let's see. All righty. Okay, let's go back to my mighties. We got a lot more questions that have come in. What if it makes a dominant virus come up? I'm not sure I understand that question, Karen. I don't know what that means. Watching on Facebook, but hope to get it. Okay, got that. Harry, here's the link with Polycrest. Oh, there you go. Somebody's got the link for Polycrest, homeopathy for women. Good. Nice job. Thank you, Terry. And you just need to, okay. Terry's in there. Terry asks, you're great. You're really helping everyone. You rock, Terry. Okay, which potency and frequency? I've got that down already. How do we know if we have directly caused by that? Okay. Something happened with Facebook. Do you see it?
Yeah, you're still on.
Okay, good.
Keep looking
Good. Yes, to cover. I want to be able to download these questions, and I'm not seeing them here. So
There you are.
I know.
Double click. It'll show up.
Okay. All righty.
There they are. Donna Amato, Country Park.
Okay. 50 reasons for being a homeopath. Yeah. Wonderful booklet. Yes. Yeah. Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Donna. It's the only medicine that has caused that with only one dose. Sometimes only one dose is all it takes for some things. You're absolutely right. Sometimes it's only one. I thought that the item showed up. Okay, let's see. Previously, you recommended Thuya 32 times a day, along with other remedies 7 days before it. Yes, I have. We're getting trying to get a little tighter in our knowledge as things go on, as I speak with my colleagues, as I meet and I learn from others, as I experience and see how things go. Then that's what often happens, is that I fine tune a little bit. Is there a protocol with anacardium or antimonium crude for warts? Yeah, I would use it in either 30 or 200, both twice daily. All right. I have autoimmune issues and systems on hyper alert all the time, and spend a lot of time in condo where everyone has danced with Maxine. Thuya 30, whenever I feel it coming on, it works. Really? That's fabulous, Donna. Wonderful. What is the difference between a wart and a skin tag? Big difference. Just check them out online. There's a big difference. Warts versus other cysts. A wart is not really what we consider a cyst, is a benign, not related to viruses. At least not that I'm aware of. I meant to say that I got approving when I took Thuya immediately after only one dose. Okay, yeah, that can happen. That means it was probably the wrong medicine. Okay, my husband had surgery to prostate cancer. He is currently fine, but if it were to return, would you suggest using Thuya? It's one of the medicines that we use. If you really want to know a little bit more, you might want to check out Dr. Ramakrishnan's book on cancer, Ramakrishnan. To discuss on eupatomin is also a very effective remedy for babesia, which is similar to a presentation to malaria. Yes, you're right. Took me 15 years to directly connect asthma to it. Yes, it does take time to figure all of this out, doesn't it? It really does. Can this remedy be used for fatty lipomas in dogs? No, dogs. I would not use this. No. I think I recommended to a dog friend with good. Oh, well, good. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to work. Please don't get me wrong. It's just not my first choice. I try to go with the protocols first, the Banerjee protocols, and I go with what is my first choice. So please don't misunderstand. I would not say don't use that medicine for a lipoma, a fatty lipoma. It could still do some good or complete good. Topically or taken more effective for work. You know what? I've seen it work beautifully both ways. Okay. Genital warts. It is one of the main ones. Yes, it is. I've talked about genital warts on my blog, so check that out. Okay, I don't see any private messaging. Okay, let's see. Thanks for the refreshing help. You're welcome. Difference between skin tags and warts for Thuya. Okay, so what about remedies made from the V? Would you take it once before, during, and after? I think I already answered that one already. Okay. Missed posts. All right. Wow, lots of questions. And I think what's happening is people are teaching each other, and I love that. All right. I think we are at our end. Yep. We're going to stop now. I'm going to say good night to my wonderful folks that I see on Facebook, and I will see you next week. And for those who are Mighty members, stay on. For those who are not Mighty members, consider it. You might want to join us.